Kimberly spent 10 years in love with her best friend Ethan, picking up the pieces every time his toxic ex broke his heart, until she meets his older brother, Park Ji-Hoon, the handsome Korean man she didn't know would change everything. "How long will you waste your life on a man who'll never see you?" he asks her. When Ji-Hoon starts showing her the love she's always deserved, Kimberly finds herself caught between the past she's held on to and the future she never expected. Kimberly Williams was having the worst day of her 28 years on Earth. She sat in her car outside Ethan's apartment building at 2:37 a.m., phone pressed to her ear, listening to him sob. Again. "She said yes to him, Kim," Ethan choked out through tears. "Sienna's engaged. To Dan. She posted it on Instagram an hour ago, and I can't breathe. I can't—" "I'm coming up," Kimberly interrupted, grabbing her emergency overnight bag from the back seat. The bag she kept packed specifically for nights like this. Nights when Sienna Jones shattered Ethan's heart, and Kimberly had to pick up the pieces, like she'd been doing for 10 years. She let herself into his apartment with the key he'd given her sophomore year of college. Found him exactly where she expected. On the couch, still in his work clothes, eyes red and swollen, phone in hand staring at Sienna's engagement photos. Sienna looked radiant, happy, like she hadn't spent the last decade using Ethan as her emotional support ex-boyfriend whenever her other relationships failed. "Kim." Ethan looked up at her with those soft brown eyes that she'd fallen for a decade ago. "What am I supposed to do? I love her. I've always loved her." "And I've always loved you," Kimberly thought for the 10,000th time. But instead she said, "I know, E. Come here." She sat beside him, and he immediately collapsed into her arms, crying into her shoulder, while she stroked his hair and made soothing sounds, and felt her own heart crack a little more. This was their pattern. Sienna would break up with Ethan. He'd be devastated. Kimberly would comfort him. He'd eventually feel better. Sienna would come back. Ethan would take her back. Repeat. For 10 entire years. "You deserve better than her," Kimberly said quietly, like she always did. "She's getting married in 2 weeks, Ethan pulled back, wiping his face. 2 weeks, Kim. The wedding's in Napa Valley. Some fancy vineyard estate. Then she'll be out of your life for good. You can finally move on." Ethan looked at her with sudden intensity. "What if I don't want to move on? What if I go to the wedding and tell her I love her? Stop her from making a mistake?" Kimberly's stomach dropped. "Ethan, I have to try. One last time. I have to know." He grabbed her hands. "Come with me. Please. I need you there. You're my best friend. I can't do this without you." Kimberly looked at his desperate, hopeful face and felt her resolve crumble, like it always did. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll go with you." "Thank you." Ethan hugged her tight. "God, Kim, what would I do without you?" Maybe you'd actually see me, she thought. But out loud she said, "Get some sleep. We'll figure it out in the morning." She stayed that night, like she always did. Slept in his guest room, like she always did. Made him breakfast, like she always did. And told herself that maybe this time would be different. It never was. 3 days later, Kimberly stood in Ethan's apartment helping him pack for the trip to Napa when there was a knock at the door. "Can you get that?" Ethan called from the bedroom. "It's probably my dry cleaning." Kimberly opened the door and froze. The man standing there was not delivering dry cleaning. He was tall, probably 6'1", handsome, early 30s, wearing an expensive black suit that looked custom-made. Sharp jawline, intense dark eyes, and an aura of controlled danger that made Kimberly take an involuntary step back. He looked like Ethan. Same bone structure, same full lips. But where Ethan was soft and gentle, this man was all hard edges and predatory focus. "You must be Kimberly," he said. or his voice deep with a slight Italian accent. The best friend. He said, best friend, like it was a terminal diagnosis. Who are you? Ji-Hoon Park, Ethan's brother. He walked past her into the apartment without being invited. Is my foolish younger brother home? Wait, brother? Kimberly closed the door, confused. Ethan never mentioned. Half-brother. Different mothers. I was raised in Italy. Ji-Hoon looked around the apartment with mild disdain. Is he here? Bedroom, but Ji-Hoon was already walking down the hall. Ethan! Ethan emerged, face lighting up. Brother, you're early. I thought you weren't flying in until tomorrow. Plans changed. Ji-Hoon's eyes flicked to Kimberly, then back to Ethan. We need to talk about the wedding. How did you? Father told me. He's concerned you're about to embarrass the family. Ethan's expression hardened. This isn't about family. This is about Sienna. The woman who's rejected you repeatedly for 10 years, he scoffed. That's Sienna. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Ji-Hoon's voice was ice. You're chasing a woman who doesn't want you while ignoring the one who's been in love with you since college. Kimberly's blood went cold. Ethan looked confused. What? Kai's not. We're friends. Ji-Hoon laughed, sharp and humorless. You really are blind. Okay, that's enough, Kimberly found her voice. You don't know anything about me or our relationship. Don't I? Ji-Hoon turned to her fully, and his gaze was like a physical touch. Intense, assessing, seeing too much. Kimberly Williams, 28, graphic designer. Works remotely. Has been Ethan's best friend for 10 years. Drops everything whenever he calls. Has an overnight bag packed in her car specifically for his emergencies. Watches him chase the same toxic woman over and over, while she waits in the wings, hoping he'll finally notice her. He stepped closer to Kimberly. Tell me which part I got wrong. Kimberly couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, because he'd just exposed her entire pathetic existence in 3 sentences. Ji-Hoon, that's not, Ethan started. Not what? Not true? Ji-Hoon's eyes never left Kimberly's face. Look at her. She's not even denying it. This is none of your business, Kimberly managed. You're right. It's not. Ji-Hoon pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked back at her. But watching someone waste their life on someone who'll never love them back offends me. And so I'm making it my business. I don't need you to. I just sent you my number. You're going to need it. He headed for the door, then paused. Ethan, I'll see you at the wedding. Try not to humiliate yourself too badly. He left. Kimberly stared at the closed door, heart pounding. I'm sorry about him, Ethan said. He's always been intense. We don't really have a relationship. Different mothers, different worlds. He only comes around for family obligations. Kimberly's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. When you're done being his emotional support animal, call me. Kimberly should have deleted it. She saved the number instead. Welcome to Kiara Love Stories, besties. Before we continue, please don't forget to like and subscribe. This is your only way of supporting us, as we also promise to bring you interesting and hooking stories every single day. 2 days later, Kimberly and Ethan were driving to Napa Valley, 5 hours in a car with the man she'd loved for a decade, heading to watch him try to stop another woman's wedding. This was hell. Thank you for doing this, Ethan said for the 10th time. I know it's a lot to ask. It's fine, Kimberly lied. Sienna and we have history. Real history. We understand each other. I just need her to remember that before she makes this huge mistake. Kimberly scoffed. And if she doesn't remember? If she tells you to leave? She won't. Ethan's voice was full of conviction that made Kimberly want to scream. She still loves me. I know she does. Kimberly stared out the window and felt something inside her finally start to crack. Her phone buzzed. "How's the drive? Has he mentioned you once?" Kimberly's fingers moved before she could stop them. "How did you know we're driving?" "I know everything. It's my job." "Your job?" "Among other things. Have dinner with me tonight, after you check into the hotel and Ethan starts obsessing over tomorrow's wedding." "I'm here to support Ethan. You're here to torture yourself. Dinner is at 8. I'll send a car." I didn't say yes. "You will." Kimberly stared at the phone, furious and intrigued in equal measure. "Who are you texting?" Ethan asked, glancing over. "Work stuff," Kimberly lied, putting her phone away. They drove the rest of the way in silence. The hotel was exactly as expensive and beautiful as expected for a Napa Valley wedding weekend. Ethan had booked them connecting rooms. "In case I need to talk," he'd said. Sir translation. In case he had a breakdown about Sienna at 3 a.m. and needed Kimberly to comfort him. After they checked in and Ethan disappeared to scout the wedding venue, Kimberly stood in her room staring at her phone. She should not have dinner with Ji-Hoon. She should stay here, order room service, be available when Ethan inevitably needed her. She should do what she'd been doing for 10 years. Her phone buzzed. "Car will be there at 8. Wear the dress in the box I had delivered to your room." Kimberly looked around. Sure enough, there was a large designer box on the bed she hadn't noticed before. She opened it. Inside was the most beautiful dress she'd ever seen. Deep emerald green, designer label, her exact size. "How do you know my size?" "I know everything, remember. See you at 8. Kimberly should have been creeped out. Instead, she was pulling the dress out of the box, holding it up to herself in the mirror. When was the last time someone had bought her something just because? When was the last time someone had noticed her at all? At 7:45, Kimberly found herself putting on the dress. It fit perfectly, made her brown skin glow, made her look powerful instead of pathetic. She left a note for Ethan. Went to dinner. Back later. At exactly 8 o'clock, her phone rang. "There's a black car waiting for you outside." Ji-Hoon's voice was smooth. "Don't keep me waiting." The car was a Mercedes, with a driver who opened the door for her without speaking. They drove for 15 minutes into wine country, finally stopping at a private estate overlooking rows of grapevines lit by the setting sun. Ji-Hoon was waiting at the entrance, wearing all black, looking like he stepped out of a magazine. "You wore the dress," he said, his eyes moving over her in a way that made her skin heat. "You didn't give me much choice." "You always have a choice, Kimberly. You just haven't been making good ones." "Are you always this arrogant?" "Always." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" Against her better judgment, Kimberly took it. The dinner was private, a table for 2 on a terrace overlooking the vineyards, chef-prepared courses, expensive wine. "You do this often?" Kimberly asked. "Ambush women with expensive dinners." "Never." Ji-Hoon poured her wine. "You're the first." "Why?" "Because watching you waste yourself on my brother offends me on a personal level." "That's not your concern, isn't it? You're an intelligent, beautiful woman with your whole life ahead of you, and you're spending it picking up pieces of a man who keeps choosing someone else." Ji-Hoon leaned forward. "When does it end, Kimberly?" "When he finally sees me." "He will never see you." The words hit like a slap. "You don't know that. I know exactly that. Want to know why?" Ji-Hoon's eyes were intense. "Because you're always there, unconditionally. He doesn't have to work for your affection, doesn't have to earn it. You give it freely, constantly, with no expectation of return. That's not love. That's enabling. You don't understand our relationship. I understand that he's using you as an emotional crutch while chasing a woman who treats him like garbage. And I understand that you let him because you think if you're patient enough, loyal enough, available enough, he'll finally love you back. Ji-Hoon's jaw tightened. He won't, because people don't value what comes easily. Kimberly felt tears burning. Why are you being so cruel? I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. Something no one else in your life has bothered to be. He reached across the table, taking her hand. You want cruel. Cruel is letting you believe this will end differently. Cruel is watching you throw away your 20s, waiting for a man who's in love with someone else. Then what am I supposed to do? Choose yourself, for once. How? Ji-Hoon's thumb stroked across her knuckles. Let me show you what it feels like to be someone's first choice. Kimberly's breath caught. What? Tomorrow, Ethan will make a fool of himself at that wedding. Sienna will reject him. He'll be devastated. And you'll comfort him and tell him it'll be okay. And nothing will change. Ji-Hoon's eyes held hers. Unless you're not there. Unless you're with me instead. She blinked. Twice. You want me to abandon him? I want you to choose yourself over his drama. I want you to let him fall without catching him. I want you to see what happens when you're not available. He leaned closer. And I want you to feel what it's like when a man actually sees you. Kimberly should have said no, should have pulled her hand away, should have left. But Ji-Hoon was looking at her like she mattered, like she was visible. And God, she was so tired of being invisible. One night, she heard herself say, I'll give you one night. But after tomorrow's wedding, I'm going back to my life. Ji-Hoon's smile was dangerous. We'll see about that. After dinner, Ji-Hoon drove her back himself. Expensive sports car, smooth driving, comfortable silence. Can I ask you something? Kimberly said as they approached the hotel. Anything. Why do you care? About me? About Ethan? About any of this? You said you barely have a relationship with him. Ji-Hoon was quiet for a long moment. My mother was like you, he finally said. She loved my father completely, unconditionally. Waited for him to choose her over his wife, over his legitimate son, over his business. She waited 20 years. Died, still waiting. Her breath hitched. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be smarter than she was. He pulled up to the hotel. My father never chose her because he didn't have to. She was always there, always available, always hoping. His eyes met Kimberly's. I watched her waste her life on a man who loved someone else. I won't watch you do the same. I'm not your mother. No, he smiled. You're stronger than she was. You're just forgetting that right now. He got out, came around to open her door. Tomorrow, Ji-Hoon said. The wedding is at 4 p.m. Instead of going with Ethan, be ready at 3. I'm taking you somewhere. Where? Somewhere that will remind you who you are when you're not being his safety net. Before Kimberly could respond, he kissed her. Not gentle, not sweet, possessive, consuming, claiming. When he pulled back, Kimberly couldn't breathe. 3 p.m. tomorrow, Ji-Hoon said. Don't be late. He got back in his car and drove away, leaving Kimberly standing there touching her lips, heart racing, world tilted sideways. What the hell was she doing? Kimberly got back to her room to find Ethan had texted 7 times. Where are you? Kai, I need to talk. Are you okay? I'm freaking out about tomorrow. Can you come to my room? Kim? Please, I really need you right now. Guilt crashed over her. She went to his room, found him pacing, anxiety written all over his face. Where were you? Ethan asked. I was worried. I told you. Dinner. Suspicion creased his face. With who? Does it matter? She scoffed. Ethan looked hurt. You're my best friend. Of course it matters. Am I? Kimberly wanted to scream. Or am I just convenient? But instead she said, What do you need, E? I need to know I'm doing the right thing. Tomorrow, stopping the wedding. Am I crazy? Do you want my honest opinion? Always. Kimberly took a breath. Yes, you're crazy. Sienna doesn't love you. She's never loved you. She uses you when it's convenient and discards you when it's not. And you deserve so much better than that. Ethan stared at her. You don't understand what we have. I understand perfectly. I've had a front row seat for 10 years. Then you know she's the love of my life. No, Ethan. She's the woman you've decided to obsess over because it's easier than actually being vulnerable with someone who might love you back. That's not. Where is this coming from? It's coming from 10 years of watching you destroy yourself over someone who doesn't care. Kimberly's voice rose. It's coming from being there every single time she breaks your heart, and you need someone to tell you it'll be okay. It's coming from waiting for you to see me while you look right through me. The words hung in the air. Ethan's eyes went wide. Kim, are you saying, do you have feelings for me? And there it was. The question she'd been wanting him to ask for a decade. And now that he was asking, Kimberly realized something. It didn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter how I feel, Kimberly said tiredly. What matters is that tomorrow you're going to humiliate yourself for a woman who's marrying someone else. And I don't want to watch. You're not coming to the wedding? No, I'm not. But you promised. I promised to support you. I've been supporting you for 10 years. I'm done, Ethan. Go to the wedding. Declare your love. Get rejected. Figure it out yourself for once. She turned to leave. Kimberly, wait. Good night, Ethan. She left before he could say anything else. Back in her room, Kimberly's phone buzzed. Proud of you. See you tomorrow at 3. How did you know what just happened? I told you. I know everything. Kimberly should have been freaked out. Instead, she felt lighter than she had in years. The next day at 2:45 p.m., Kimberly got ready. Not for Ethan's dramatic wedding crash, for whatever Ji-Hoon had planned. She wore the emerald dress again, did her makeup, left her natural curls out and gorgeous. At exactly 3 p.m., there was a knock. Ji-Hoon stood there in a perfectly tailored black suit, looking at her like she was the only person in the world. Ready? I don't even know where we're going, he smirked. Does it matter? Kimberly thought about it. No, it doesn't. She took his hand. They didn't go to the wedding. Instead, Ji-Hoon took her to a private winery he'd rented for the afternoon. Wine tasting. Gorgeous views. No drama. No crying. No picking up pieces. Just existing. Being seen. Being chosen. So how does it feel? Ji-Hoon asked as they sat on a terrace overlooking endless vineyards. How does what feel? Not being at that wedding. Not being available for his crisis. Choosing yourself. Kimberly considered. Terrifying, freeing, both. Good. You should feel both. Her phone started buzzing. Ethan calling, then texting. Where are you? The wedding is starting, Kim. I need you. Please, I can't do this without you. Kimberly stared at the messages. Ji-Hoon watched her. What are you going to do? Nothing, Kimberly said, turning off her phone. For once, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. Ji-Hoon's smile was approval and heat combined. I knew you were stronger than you thought. Don't celebrate yet. I might still break. You won't. He poured her more wine. See, because you're finally remembering who you are when you're not busy being what he needs. They spent the afternoon talking. Really talking. Ji-Hoon told her about growing up in Korea as the illegitimate son, about being sent to America at 25 to expand his father's business empire, about building something that was his, not just his father's legacy. What business? Kimberly asked. Import and export, primarily. That's vague. Intentionally. Are you going to tell me the truth? Ji-Hoon looked at her for a long moment. Not yet. But I will. When you're ready to hear it. That's ominous. It's honest. There are parts of my life that are complicated, dangerous, and I won't bring you into that without you fully understanding what it means. But you're bringing me into your life. I'm bringing you into myself. There's a difference. Kimberly didn't fully understand, but she nodded. At 6 p.m., her phone buzzed even though it was off. She'd turned it back on out of guilt. 17 missed calls from Ethan, 32 text messages, and 1 voicemail. She listened to it. Ethan's voice, broken. She rejected me, in front of everyone. Security escorted me out. I'm at the hotel. Where are you? I need you. Please. Kimberly's heart clenched. You're thinking about going to him, Ji-Hoon observed. He's devastated. He's always devastated, he hissed. Over the same woman. Making the same mistakes. When does he learn, Kimberly? When does anyone learn anything without someone to help them? There's a difference between helping and enabling. You've been enabling him to avoid consequences for 10 years. Ji-Hoon took her hand. All right, let him sit with this. Let him feel the full weight of his choices without you there to cushion the fall. That feels cruel. That's called natural consequences. It's how adults learn. Kimberly looked at her phone, then at Ji-Hoon, then back at her phone. Finally, she texted Ethan. I'm sorry. I can't come. Not this time. She turned off her phone completely. How do you feel? Ji-Hoon asked. Like I'm abandoning him? Or like you're finally putting yourself first? That night, Ji-Hoon took her back to the private estate from the previous evening. Stay, he said simply. Stay. The night. With me. Not for sex, he added quickly. Just stay. Let me show you what it's like to be someone's priority. Kimberly knew this was dangerous. Knew she was falling for someone she barely knew. Knew she was probably making a terrible mistake. But for the first time in 10 years, someone was asking her to stay for herself. Not because she was needed, because she was wanted. Okay, she whispered. Ji-Hoon's smile was everything. Kimberly woke up in an enormous bed in the estate's master suite. Ji-Hoon was already awake, sitting in a chair by the window, watching her. How long have you been staring at me? Kimberly asked, pulling the blanket up. Long enough to confirm you're even more beautiful in the morning. That's creepy. It's honest. He stood, brought her coffee. How do you feel? Guilty, confused, lighter, all at once. The guilt will fade. The lighter feeling will stay. Ji-Hoon sat on the edge of the bed. Turn on your phone. I don't want to. Turn it on. Face it. Reluctantly, Kimberly powered on her phone. It immediately exploded with notifications. 53 texts from Ethan, 19 missed calls, 4 voicemails, and 1 text from 2 hours ago. I know you're with my brother. We need to talk. I'm coming to get you. He knows, Kimberly breathed. Of course he knows. A satisfactory smile curled his lips. I made sure he saw my car outside the hotel last night when he was looking for you. She gasped. You what? He needed to know you weren't at his beck and call anymore, that someone else saw your value. Ji-Hoon's expression was unapologetic. And honestly, I wanted him to know you were with me. Kimberly shook her head. This isn't a game. No, it's not. Ji-Hoon smiled. It's me claiming what everyone else has been too blind to see. Before Kimberly could respond, there was pounding on the front door downstairs. Kimberly! Ethan's voice. I know you're in there. I'm with my brother. We need to talk. Ji-Hoon stood calmly. I'll handle this. No, I should. Let me. His eyes held hers. Let me show him you're not his anymore. You're mine. The possessiveness should have scared her. It didn't. Ji-Hoon went downstairs. Kimberly followed. Ethan stood in the foyer, disheveled, furious, heartbroken. Kimberly, thank God. I've been losing my mind. He stopped when he saw her wearing Ji-Hoon's shirt, clearly having just woken up. Oh. Oh no. Tell me you didn't. Didn't what, little brother? Ji-Hoon asked coldly. Sleep with my best friend. Ethan's voice rose. She's not. You can't just. She's mine. Excuse me. Kimberly's voice was ice. Not like that. I mean, we're best friends. You can't just. With him. Ethan looked desperate. Kim, please. I need you. Yesterday was the worst day of my life. Sienna humiliated me. I had no one. Where were you? I was here, choosing myself for once. His eyes widened. But I needed you. You always need me. Kimberly's voice broke. For 10 years, you've needed me. To comfort you. To tell you it'll be okay. To pick up the pieces every time Sienna breaks your heart. But when have you ever asked what I needed? That's not fair. It's completely fair. Kimberly stepped closer to him. I've been in love with you since sophomore year of college. 10 years, Ethan. And you never noticed. Never asked. Never cared. Because I was always just there. Ethan's face went pale. You love me. Loved. Past tense. Kimberly's voice was steady now. I loved you for 10 years while you chased someone who treated you like garbage. I was there for every breakup, every crisis, every 3 a.m. Why, phone call. And you never once looked at me the way you looked at her. Kimberly, I didn't know. You didn't want to know. Because if you knew, you'd have to actually consider my feelings. Actually see me as more than your emotional support friend. She shook her head. I'm done, Ethan. I'm done waiting for you to see me. I'm done being your safety net. So you're with him? He pointed at Ji-Hoon, who was watching both of them with a closed expression. My brother? A man you barely know? I'm with someone who sees me, who values me, who chose me first, not last. Kimberly glanced at Ji-Hoon, who was watching her with unmistakable pride. And yes, I'm with him. Kim, please, don't do this. We can figure this out. There's nothing to figure out. You love Sienna. You've always loved Sienna. And I'm finally accepting that and moving on. But go home, Ethan, Ji-Hoon said quietly, but with authority that made it clear this wasn't a request. Kimberly has made her choice. Respect it. She's my best friend. She was your emotional crutch. There's a difference. Ji-Hoon's arm came around Kimberly's waist. And now she's mine. Get used to it. Ethan stared at them, realization finally dawning. You're really doing this. You're choosing him over our 10-year friendship. I'm choosing myself, Kimberly said softly. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself, and he happens to be part of that choice. Ethan looked devastated, but for the first time, Kimberly didn't move to comfort him. She let him feel it. I should have told you, Ethan whispered. Years ago. When you first... I should have seen it. Yes, you should have. Can we fix this? I don't know. Maybe. But not today. Not while you're still in love with Sienna. Not while you still see me as your backup plan. You were never a backup plan. Then what was I, Ethan? Really? He couldn't answer. After a long moment, Ethan turned and left. The door closed behind him. Kimberly stood there, shaking. You did it, Ji-Hoon said quietly. You chose yourself. I feel terrible. You feel free. You're just not used to it yet. He turned her to face him. How brave are you, Kimberly Williams? What? Because there's something you need to know about me, about my life, about what being with me actually means. His expression was serious. And once you know, you can't unknow it. What are you talking about? Ji-Hoon took her hand. Come with me. It's time you met the real me. Ji-Hoon drove them into San Francisco, to a building in Chinatown that looked like a legitimate import/export company. Inside was anything but legitimate. Armed security, men in suits speaking Korean, an atmosphere of controlled danger. "What is this place?" Kimberly whispered. "My father's legacy, and now mine." Ji-Hoon led her through hallways to a private office overlooking the city. "Sit." Kimberly sat. Ji-Hoon poured them both drinks. "My father built an empire," he started. Import/export was the front. The reality was more complicated. Protection services, information brokerage, money laundering through legitimate businesses. He operated in the gray areas of the law. Kimberly's stomach dropped. "You're saying he was a crime boss?" "Yes. Italian organized crime with connections throughout the West Coast." Ji-Hoon's eyes never left hers. "When he died 3 years ago, I inherited it all. The legitimate businesses, the illegitimate ones, the empire. You're a criminal. I'm a businessman who operates outside traditional legal structures. But yes, by legal definition, I'm a criminal." Kimberly stood up. "I should go." "Sit down." She shook her head. "Don't tell me what to." "Sit down." Ji-Hoon's voice was command, not request. "You wanted honesty. You're getting it. All of it." Kimberly sat. "I run operations up and down the West Coast. Smuggling, primarily. High-end goods, information, occasionally people who need to disappear. I also run protection rackets for businesses in downtown that the police ignore. I'm money laundering through restaurants and real estate." He leaned forward. "I'm not a good man by society's standards. I'm ruthless when I need to be. I've hurt people who threatened my operations. I've killed when necessary." Kimberly couldn't breathe. "But," Ji-Hoon continued, "I have rules. No drugs, no sex trafficking, no harming civilians. I protect the community from worse predators. I keep things stable. And I never, ever involve innocents in my business unless I have to." "And me? Am I involved now?" "Yes. Because anyone who matters to me becomes a target for my enemies." He stood, walked to the window. "That's why I'm telling you this. You need to understand what being with me means. It means danger. It means security following you. It means never being completely safe. It means being part of a world you never asked to join." "Then why tell me at all? Why not just let me go?" Ji-Hoon turned to face her. "Because I'm selfish. Because in the 3 days I've known you, you've become important to me. Because I see your strength and your loyalty and your heart, and I want that in my life." He walked back to her, knelt in front of her chair. "But I won't lie to you. I won't pretend to be something I'm not. So you need to decide, right now, with full knowledge, can you be with a man like me?" Kimberly looked into his eyes. She should say no. Should run. Should go back to her safe, normal life. But her safe, normal life had been killing her slowly for 10 years. And this dangerous man had seen her when she was invisible. "What would it mean?" Kimberly asked quietly. "Tom, being with you. It means you live in a secure building. It means bodyguards. It means learning to protect yourself. It means understanding that my world has violence and you might witness it." He took her hands. "But it also means you're cherished, protected, valued. It means you'll never be taken for granted or treated as second choice. It means I'll build my world around you, not expect you to shrink to fit mine. How can you promise that after 3 days? Because I've never felt like this about anyone, and I don't waste time pretending otherwise." His thumb stroked her knuckles. "So decide, Kimberly, safe and invisible, or dangerous and seen?" Kimberly thought about Ethan, about 10 years of being invisible, about this man who terrified and thrilled her in equal measure, about choosing herself. "If I do this," she said slowly, I need promises. Name them. 1. Complete honesty. Always. No more surprises about who you are or what you do. Done. 2. I don't participate in anything illegal. I won't be involved in your business. Done. You'll be kept completely separate. 3. If I want out at any time, you let me go. No threats. No manipulation. Ji-Hoon hesitated on that one. I can promise to let you go physically. I can't promise I won't fight like hell to convince you to stay. That's honest, at least. Always. He pulled her closer. Anything else? Yes. Teach me about your world. Don't shelter me from it. If I'm going to be part of your life, I need to understand it fully. Ji-Hoon's smile was admiration and heat. You're extraordinary. I'm insane. Same thing. He stood, pulling her up with him. So? Are you mine? Kimberly took a deep breath, thought about every reason this was a terrible idea, and then thought about how he looked at her. Yes, she whispered. I'm yours. Ji-Hoon kissed her like he'd been waiting his whole life to do it, and Kimberly kissed back like she'd finally found what she'd been searching for. Kimberly moved into Ji-Hoon's penthouse apartment in downtown San Francisco, luxury she'd never imagined, security she was still getting used to, a life that felt surreal, but real in ways her old life never had. Ji-Hoon kept his promises, complete honesty about his operations. She wasn't involved, but she knew what he did, where he went. Why? He taught her self-defense, brought her to meetings with his inner circle so they knew she was protected. He'd introduced her to the legitimate side of his businesses where she could work if she wanted. And he cherished her, remembered how she took her coffee, noticed when she was stressed, made time for her every single day despite running an empire, made her feel visible. 3 weeks in, Ethan called, first time since the confrontation. Hi, his voice was uncertain. Hi, Kimberly responded. How are you? Good. Really good, actually. I heard you moved in with him, Ji-Hoon. She chuckled. News travels fast. It's a small world. Ethan was quiet. I've been thinking about what you said, about the last 10 years. And? You were right. Ethan paused a bit. About all of it. I did take you for granted. I was so obsessed with Sienna that I never saw what was right in front of me. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But Kim, thank you for saying that. Is there any chance? Could we be friends again? Real friends. Not whatever messed up dynamic we had. Kimberly thought about it. Maybe, eventually. But not yet. I need space to figure out who I am without being your safety net. I understand. He paused again. Are you happy? With him? A smile creased her face. I am. Good. You deserve that. Another pause. He's dangerous, Kim. You know that, right? What he does? I know exactly what he does, and I'm choosing it anyway. Okay. Then I'm happy for you. I really am. After they hung up, Ji-Hoon came up behind her. How was that? Surprisingly okay. He apologized. Good. He should. Ji-Hoon wrapped his arms around her waist. Does it change anything? No. That chapter is closed. She turned in his arms. This is my choice. You're my choice. Say that again. You're my choice. Ji-Hoon kissed her deeply. I'll never get tired of hearing that. That night, they made love for the first time. Slow, intense, like he was memorizing every inch of her. I love you, Ji-Hoon said afterward, stroking her hair. I know it's fast. I know it's insane. But I love you, Kimberly Williams. Kimberly's heart soared. I love you too. Even knowing what I am? Especially knowing what you are, because you've been honest. You've been real. You've seen me. She kissed him. You chose me first. That matters more than anything else. 6 months later. The threat, everything was perfect, until it wasn't. Kimberly was leaving her new job at Ji-Hoon's legitimate marketing firm when a black van pulled up beside her. 2 men grabbed her before she could scream, a cloth over her mouth. Darkness. She woke up in a warehouse tied to a chair. A Korean man in his 50s stood before her. "Miss Williams," he said in accented English. "Forgive the dramatic introduction. My name is Park Dong-min. I'm a business associate of Ji-Hoon's. Associate or enemy? Both, depending on the day." He smiled coldly. "Ji-Hoon has something I want. Territory, influence, respect. And now I have something he wants. You. He'll kill you for this. Probably. But first, he'll negotiate. He'll give me what I want to get you back. And then, when he's weak and exposed, I'll kill him anyway." Park leaned closer. "Unless you convince him not to negotiate, unless you tell him to let you go, that you're not worth the cost. I'd never. You will. Because if you don't, I don't just kill him. I kill his entire organization. Everyone he protects, every shopkeeper in Koreatown who relies on him, every family under his protection, all dead. Because of you." Kimberly's blood went cold. "So when he calls," Park held up her phone, "you tell him to let you go. That you're leaving him anyway. That you've realized this life isn't for you. Make it convincing." He dialed Ji-Hoon's number. Put the phone on speaker. "Kimberly." Ji-Hoon's voice was controlled fury. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine." "Where are you?" "Ji-Hoon." Kimberly's voice cracked. She had to make this convincing, had to protect him. "I can't do this anymore." Silence. "What?" "This life. Your world. It's too much. I want out." "Kimberly, if someone's making you say this, no one's making me. I've been thinking about it for weeks. This isn't my world. It never will be. I'm sorry. But I'm done." More silence. Then, "Put Park on the phone." Park smiled, taking the phone off speaker. "Kang, if you've hurt her, I will burn your entire organization to ash. She's fine, unharmed, and she just told you she's leaving you. So let her go. Walk away. Everyone lives." "You really think I'm that stupid?" Ji-Hoon's voice was ice. "You think I don't know you're forcing her to say that? Does it matter? She said it. It's done. Take the outcome. Save your empire. Let the girl go. Never. Find her. Kill you. In that order." The line went dead. Park looked at Kimberly with something like respect. "He loves you more than his empire. How sweet. And how stupid." Ji-Hoon came exactly 2 hours later. Not alone. He brought 30 men. Breached the warehouse with military precision. Park's men didn't stand a chance. Kimberly heard gunfire, shouting, violence. Then Ji-Hoon was there, cutting her free, checking her for injuries. "Are you hurt?" "No, I'm okay. Shh, I've got you." He pulled her into his arms. "I've got you. He said if you came for me, he'd kill everyone you protect." "He's not going to kill anyone." Ji-Hoon's voice was deadly calm. "Because he's already dead." Kimberly looked past him, Park's body on the floor. "You killed him." "I killed everyone who touched you." Ji-Hoon cupped her face. "You're mine. Anyone who forgets that doesn't get a second chance to remember." He carried her out of the warehouse. She should have been horrified by the violence. She wasn't. She was relieved. Aftermath. Back at the penthouse, after she'd been checked by doctors and given the all-clear, Kimberly found Ji-Hoon on the terrace. You came for me," she said quietly. "Always. Even though I told you to let me go. I knew you didn't mean it." He turned to face her. "I know you, Kimberly. Better than you think. And I knew you were protecting me the only way you could. He said he'd kill everyone, and I killed him first. That's how this works." He pulled her close. "You're mine. Under my protection. Anyone who threatens that answers to me. Permanently." I'm not property. No, you're infinitely more valuable than property. You're my heart, he kissed her forehead, and I protect my heart with everything I have. Kimberly looked up at him. This is insane. Being with you, your world, the danger. Yes, I should walk away, choose safety. Probably. But I'm not going to. No? No. Because being with you, even with all the danger, is better than being safe and invisible ever was. She kissed him. You chose me first, and I'm choosing you. Always. Ji-Hoon's smile was everything. Marry me. What? Marry me. Not someday. Now. Tomorrow. This week. I don't care. But marry me. Officially. Legally. Permanently. That's not a proposal. That's a demand. I'm not good at romance. I'm good at knowing what I want and taking it. And I want you. Forever. Kimberly laughed through tears. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Is that a yes? Of course it's a yes, you impossible man. He kissed her like he'd won everything that mattered. And Kimberly kissed back like she'd finally found her place in the world. Epilogue. 1 year later, Kimberly Kong stood in the penthouse, looking out at San Francisco, and wearing her wedding ring and feeling more herself than she'd ever felt. Behind her, Ji-Hoon wrapped his arms around her waist. Happy? He asked. Absurdly. No regrets? None? Not even about Ethan? Your old life? Kimberly thought about it. Ethan and I are friends now. Real friends. He's dating someone new, someone who actually values him. He's happy. I'm happy. That part of my life is closed in the best possible way. And your new life? She turned in his arms. My new life involves being married to a crime boss who spoils me relentlessly, protects me obsessively, and loves me completely. It's dangerous and complicated and absolutely perfect. You're perfect. I'm strong. There's a difference. You're both, he kissed her. Thank you. For what? For choosing yourself, for choosing me, for being brave enough to walk away from a decade of wishing and into something real. Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. You were never invisible. You were just looking at the wrong person. Kimberly's phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Dinner next week? I want you and Ji-Hoon to meet Amanda. I think you'll like her. Kimberly showed it to Ji-Hoon. Thoughts? I think my idiot brother finally learned his lesson. We'll go. You'll be nice? I'm always nice. You're terrifying. Same thing. Kimberly laughed, kissing him again. A year ago, she'd been invisible, taken for granted, wasting her life waiting for someone to see her. Now she was seen, chosen, loved. Not by the man she'd waited for, by the man who'd been worth waiting for. Sometimes the wrong brother is exactly the right person. Sometimes you have to stop waiting and start choosing. And sometimes the love you deserve is the one you never saw coming. The end final message. Sometimes the person you've been waiting for isn't the person you're meant to be with. Sometimes you have to stop being someone's backup plan and start being someone's first choice. And sometimes the dangerous stranger sees you better than the safe friend ever could. If you enjoyed this story, Beasties, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.